Now, I
I
wanted
was
to contrast that with, shall we say, subtler forms of control, which I've been working on a lot here, talking about them at Adept Play. Um, and the trouble is that, again, we can't look at single techniques. For example, let's take the ability to change the results of a rolled outcome. I have a point, I have a bank of points that allows me to make this terrible thing that just happened to me less terrible. I can spend points to do it. Or I have points that allow me to roll again and ignore that first roll. It never happened. Now let's look at the result. Or we'll take the best. Basically, it means rolling 2 dice and take the best of 2. Right? That's what it means in a lot of cases. But if I spend this point, I can do that. And if those points are not limited, and as some of you know, I'm helping consult for a game right now where they technically have a limit, but I haven't seen us hit it and play yet. Right, so the bank is big. And effectively every single roll is under, every single mechanic's use in the game is under committee or it's in an adjustable state at every point. And I've talked about fate-based games in this regard. And then I'm also finding this in the Star Trek game too. I'm really waiting for the point where we have run out of these points that we need. And so far, I haven't seen it. So we haven't played enough for me to be sure yet, but I'm looking at that variable. And the reason I talk about this is because it's like one of the solutions for the first problem, the first kind of railroading. One of the solutions was to give players these points. And it was also a solution for game mechanics that were destructive to play. Game mechanics that themselves destroyed play. Your character, we can talk about games where it's fun and okay for your character to die instantly, but in a lot of games it's not. And yet they retained the mechanics where that could happen. So we get these points that allow you to keep that effect off of you. It's a patch rule. Yep. So then you say, oh, well, those must be the story points. Those must be the player empowerment points. Those must be the anti-railroading points. So if we just fill play full of those, it'll be the most unrailroady thing ever. It'll be great. We all have power. We can all contribute. I can say that the vase is gold. You can say that you know that guy. You can keep that die roll from killing you. You know, all these things, right? It's great. We have all these points. We will throw these points around and everybody will be happy and so full of power. And all we find with this is that the same issue is at work. It's just now everybody is fighting for it. Everybody is fighting for the control. Or we say, well, we won't fight for it because we all love each other so much, but we will just keep rolling these dice and we will massage the results as we go so that everybody is happy all the time. And all of this is, again, the opposite of that state that I was talking about, where you are in a state of creative production of the fiction, but you don't know and cannot control. You put yourself into a state of mind where you cannot control what you think or what you actually make. And that is the state of mind that so much discussion of creativity actually, for some reason, tries to avoid. They teach you not to do that in writing school. Do you know what they teach you when they try to teach you to write? Screenwriting classes, everything. It's like going to business school. It's the one way not to learn anything about economics. And so it's the same thing with this. If you want to learn to write, don't go to any writing classes. Don't get in any writing groups. Don't do any writing stuff. Why? Because their goal is to teach you how to put out a salable product when you don't want to. That's what they're teaching you to do. They're teaching you to be a productive provider of material that has a chance to be sold. And they call that professionalism. They call that craftsmanship. But what it really means is you eliminate that state of mind completely, and you make your little outline and you fill it with the right tropes, and you put it out there, and it's going to hit their production process anyway, and they'll fill it with actors and fill it with directors, and they'll just change it all up in their process anyway. You're just providing this thing that they need along the way. And so, but the point is, the less you care about it, the less that you put your intuitive interests into it, the better. That's the last thing they want. What do they care? What does fandom care about your intuitive interest in having these things happen? So it seems to me as though we are talking about a way of creating fiction that runs against the professional modern notion of fiction entirely. You won't find any analog for how to do this in any other medium, because we are not making products to be sold. We are completely off, completely out of there. We have to go and talk about this way of making fiction, this state of mind in making fiction, that everyone is told not to do. Right? Or they say only geniuses can do it. You can't write intuitively. Geniuses can, but you're no genius. Right? Do you want to be able to sell your scripts or not? Do it this way. Do you want to make your players happy or not? If you do it this way. And that's why I keep saying terrible things like, who cares if your players are happy? Fuck your players. Right? Use the instruments that you are afforded in this system and do that your way, have fun, and nobody has deterministic force over the entirety of an outcome. Nobody has deterministic outcome authority over every other form of input. And then you have to say, well, then, do our outcomes actually affect situations or not? Because you can have all of these outcomes, but if they never affect situation, it's like in Undiscovered. Whatever happened in the last scene, there's absolutely no way to then transfer that result into the next scene, except as I say it does. I have to pick it up and make it all happen from scratch for the next scene. It's all my fiction that I'm consulting and then developing. And so does this make any sense at all? Everybody seems to have been sort of struggling with that aspect of things. Or am I just making a lot of noise into space right now?
No, not necessarily. What I'm wondering about is this notion of somebody making somebody else happy.
Oh, yeah.
Because what I do and what I learned to find the right tools to do, kind of, or to trust people to help me along with, is I make myself happy.
Absolutely agree. I feel there's the entire thing about the anxiety about so for example, for me, the problems that I had, the more I played with people that I knew and that I already trusted and that already knew what they wanted, the less I had them, right? And it's because whenever you're playing with like other people, then there's all of these expectations that come with the RPG community at large, especially if you're playing the role of the GM, that, oh, if the game doesn't go well, it's my fault. Right. I didn't run the game well, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's my job to make the others happy.
I am quality control. That's what I do.
Yeah, right. I am quality control, but maybe a little bit more. Like I'm, and this is something that I never believed in, by the way. I never believed in this. It's I learned to roleplay on my own, so I didn't like get into the community up until much later. And I actually realized that my quality of play went down since I started going on the internet and talking about these things. For like up until like 2016, it went down, not up. And it took me a while to like understand these problems, but the expectation that you need to either as a GM or as an organizer, or in any case, that other people are supposed to take your entertainment and that you're supposed to provide it. There's somebody supposed to provide the entertainment, is incredibly, I would call it toxic. I don't know if there's
that. Yeah.
I don't know if there's like, I know that there's probably some instances in which it's like positive or whatever, but that's not what it's been for me. And the other thing is, when you transform role playing into this kind of, as you said, and this is one of the things that really resonated with me, of the things you said in the I think the phenomenology videos, that role playing is one of the few mediums where audience and author are one and the same. And this is really, really true. And I don't understand
I'll
why.
actually give credit to saying that for the first time. I think goes to Robin Laws, an essay that he wrote in the early 90s. That's where I think I first ran into that precise construction. But anyway, go on. Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that trying to take it to a point where there's now an author and an audience is kind of missing the point of the entire thing. Yeah. Maybe it's something fun. Maybe, you know, I mean, you can, I don't know, maybe sometimes it's like when you go to a party and there's that guy playing guitar, and that guy usually was me, but that like nobody really cares for like listening to him, but he insists on like playing guitar, right? That's kind of like what this type of, you know, player GM relationship is to me. It's bringing entertainment into something that or entertainment in the sense of like, it's fine to entertain each other, but one directional entertainment, right?
Transitive, I think, is the word I usually
transitive. Thank you. Entertainment in a context where, in a social context where we should all be enjoying each other's company and input, even if you're just talking like a social hangout, and it turns it into now a show, basically.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the same thing is what's now happening with playing on Twitch or whatever, or on streams, or on for it's not that there's anything wrong with recording yourself and playing, but when you are playing for the audience, then that, in my opinion, is bastardizing.
It's a different. It's simply a different phenomenon. To put it as neutrally as possible, it is at the very least a different phenomenon. My judgment of it is, if anything, harsher than yours, but that is just my judgment of it. Rod, what were you going to say?
I had a question for Claudio or any of the Europeans. Is in Europe or wherever you are, is there a culture of people like playing RPGs like at the game store as a venue where like a game master will set up a time slot and people show up for the game to be? Yeah,
but I've never really participated in it, so I can't comment that much on it, but I know it exists.
Okay, just curious.
We even have at Luca Comics and Games, there's this ridiculous game mastering tournament where yeah, I know, like it's where they literally get rated. Like they get like there's judges. You know when like they send food reviewers.
That sounds so fun.
Incognito
Sean, they did that. They did that at RPGA, right? Isn't that how Frank Mentzer first got famous, because he won?
Yes. Oh yeah. And even
back in 1981 or 80 or something like that. Yeah.
Well, we were still doing that in the 2000s. So when 3 and 3.5 had come out, D&D, I was involved with the RPGA. I eventually ended up as one of the regional admins. But yes, it was a very tough situation because you got rated as a DM,